InfoWars employee arrested just for commenting on January 6th. Here's a clip.
I actually really like this article. It says Alex Jones claims InfoWars host Owen Shroyer was charged for free speech. That's it. They don't insult Alex Jones. They don't write anything. They literally just post a quote and a video of Alex Jones, which I will play a bit for you here right now. I think.
Now, this deals with Owen and this deals with the rest of the January 6 people where their lawyers are like, we don't want you to antagonize the system. We don't want you to sit there and do a bunch of stuff. Let us try to not get them in prison. I'm like, well, I want to defend them. I want to talk about it. Well, it's up to them if they want help or not. And Owen's a smart cookie, but they're trying to put Owen in jail, in prison. They filed last night. He's sentenced next week. Goes to D.C. And I didn't cover it, but the Gateway Pundit did. Breaking, D.C. prosecutors seek 120 days in prison for Owen Shroyer for speaking out against stolen election 2020. Speech now a crime. Now that's not just the Gateway Pundit's headline. I have, overhead shot please, right here, the charging document the feds put forward. Here it is.
We actually have that as well. And so in the charging document, I'm not going to read through the whole thing. They basically say, before January 6th, on January 6th, and after January 6th, Owen Shroyer had said things that incited people. And for that, they are seeking this sentence. The criminal charge against him is not for speech. It's for being on the Capitol grounds. But they're arguing that he is the reason people stormed the Capitol. They highlight this. Be a part of history. Fight for Trump. And it shows people outside the Capitol, Alex Jones and Owen with bullhorns. And if you scroll down, I'll jump down to right before they get to their recommendations. They go on to mention, let's see, I want to try and find the specific portion. May. They go on to mention after the fact, August. So this is for his speech that they are seeking to put him in jail. When I said that the next people they'd come for would be pundits, I didn't mean like outright it would be Owen Shroyer or anything like that. There are people who are not in the Capitol, who are not on the Capitol grounds, who I am referring to. And there are people who are not even in D.C. who I am referring to. I even said like prominent cable personalities who were in communications with Trump legal's team who pushed the narrative, prominent personalities, many of whom got sued. They're going to come after them next. But Owen Shroyer is in between.
Yeah, most likely, yeah.
He not only was there on the ground, he didn't go in the building, but he was also someone that they're seeking a prison sentence for over speech he made after the fact.
I blame Obama.
Yeah, why is that?
Because the precedent for going after journalists was set with Snowden.
That is fair.
And with Assange, and then the Obama administration went after James Rosen. So the idea that this is the first time, no, this is something that's been in motion for a long time. And there's a lot of people.
That's a fair point.
People around this table and other pundits and stuff that have been vocal about how it's a bad thing that, you know, Snowden hasn't been pardoned and Assange hasn't been pardoned, and it's a bad thing that Rosen went to jail. And the Democrats didn't.
Rosen actually went to jail?
Or I'm sorry, that they
went after him. We've had him on the show, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I was here, and he was talking about, you know, they wiretapped him and blah blah blah, and you know, the fact that we have allowed the government to get away with it is why it continues. Now, the situation we're in right here,
Yep, definitely.
if this does happen and he goes to jail for speech, it's only going to be worse. There's not going to be someone that says, okay, that's enough. BS. They're going to be like, all right, that worked. The American people allowed it. This is a new power we have, and we can do this. So
it's like the frogs in the boiling pot. They just amp it up, amp it up, amp it up, and it's just going to keep getting worse unless something happens to stop it.
Let's go back in time. Let's go back to when the Biden administration targeted James Rosen, a journalist, tried to put him in jail. When Obama charged whistleblowers and journalists under the Espionage Act more than any other president combined, than all the other presidents combined.
Yeah.
Imagine going back then when we were concerned about this and telling people in 10 years, they're going to put a guy in jail because he was on the Capitol grounds bullhorning. And then after the fact, he said stuff like, to a certain degree, we should be proud of what we did that day. He said something like, he maintains the election was stolen. One of the reasons they want him in jail is because they said even after all of this, he still maintains the election was stolen, as if he has to publicly change his opinion.
Man.
Yeah, this is
wow.
This is Soviet level. This is Cultural Revolution level. Communist authoritarianism. Welcome to the future.
And it happens
Dystopian.
very quickly.
Yeah.
Very quickly. It goes from you're free to you're not free. I mean, look, we're discussing 10 years.
And think about the past few years.
Wild.
Yeah.
Think about where we were 6-7 years ago, and it's laughable to me that there are people who are like, you're overreacting, or you're it's exaggerating, or it's shot content. I'm like, dude.
Okay, you don't.
I think the issue is that
just look at the stories.
everybody is standing in the middle of the forest, and when you tell them, dude, you are in the middle of the forest, like, what do you mean? It's just a handful of trees. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm like, bro, you can't tell where all the other trees are because you're standing in the middle of all of them.
Yeah, you got to look at 9/11. I mean, 9/11 is like, when you see those buildings fall in free fall, most people can understand it when they see the sign. When they see.
Okay, hold on. Nah, like
You want to talk about
you
the
just jumped
slow boil into
way too far.
That's the beginning of this totalitarian seizure, man.
And I can respect that, but you got to slow down a little
The
bit.
way that the government.
You got to talk about, okay, so we ended up in this position with the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization
It was like
Act,
2010 or something.
2000, I think that was 12, which gave the which signed into law the indefinite detention provision, which is an offshoot of what is effectively the Bush era expansion of authoritarianism, anti-terror policies, and the expansion
Thanks,
of the creation
Obama.
of DHS, which emerges out of the Patriot Act, which starts after 9/11.
I watched it happen in real time too. It was crazy, and like,
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying we got to explain to people how we get from point A to point B.
Right. This would set like a precedent for that to be acceptable if they were to pull that off.
And now it is. Now we're here. When we talked in 2012 about the indefinite detention provision that Obama signed into law, the NDAA provision that says they could snatch you up in the middle of the night without charge or trial, hold you on a military vessel 11 miles off the coast of this country, and rendition you. We were like, that's scary. And the response from everybody is, oh, you're nuts. That's never going to happen. Shut your mouths.
Why do they have
Because
the ability?
now we're at the point where they're arresting journalists. They've been targeting journalists. That's the Obama era. Around the same time, going after Rosen. Julian Assange. That's an informal assassination as far as I'm concerned. Owen Shroyer said bombastic things outside the Capitol. And for that, they want to go to prison. This is the next grain of sand. They're going after lawyers. They're going after political
Homeless people say
they're going after
bombastic
politicians.
stuff all the time.
It's not just Trump. They removed Coy Griffin in New Mexico from the ballot. This is well beyond the point. We are potentially a couple years away from the actual implementation of an indefinite detention act.
The Trump, and I hate the fact that this is so prescient now, but Trump said, they're not coming after you, or they're not coming after me. They're coming after you. I'm just in the way. And I hate the fact that it looks like that's the case. The idea that it's just Trump is something that I've been pushing back against with Democrats, specifically shitlibs, for a long time, because they think, oh, well, Donald Trump is different. Donald Trump is different. It's like, the thing that's different is the behavior of the Democrats and the left. The influence of authoritarianism in the United States on the left is undeniable. And the fact that people have been ignoring it or just saying, no, it's not true, likely because they don't believe it's true, because they have normal jobs,
they don't
normal lives.
do
and they're not
research,
steeped in this stuff like people that do this stuff all the time. But the fact of the matter is, the federal government has never been more authoritarian. They're throwing people in jail in the way that they did, like during the Civil War and in the 20s, or no, was it Wilson that threw people in jail? FDR threw people in jail, but it's back to the old, authoritarian government, and that's not acceptable. We've said this a bunch. I don't see the off ramp.
It's not even wartime either.
Is accepted.
Right now. They're still doing
what's going to be next, because it's not going to be, oh, we're going to chill out. It would take someone in the Democrat Party in power standing up and saying, we can't do this. And there is no one that even wants to. They're all enjoying it.
I think it's going to come from us, to be honest.
That's scary.
Yeah, it is scary. But you know what? Nobody's coming to save you. And you see this everywhere where authoritarianism just takes hold. Everybody's like, well, we just need a savior. And that's why you get that charismatic leader that comes in and destroys the country. And maybe
Obama.
that charismatic leader that we need to save us is Trump, but I doubt it.
No, I think
He was in power before, and he did nothing for Julian Assange. He did nothing for Edward Snowden. He did nothing for Ross Ulbricht. He's done
It's true.
nothing to change the situation that we're in now. He had the opportunity. 4 years was plenty.
Yeah, but there's nobody else.
There is nobody else. I agree with you.
Right.
There's nobody else. And
So
at this
it's-
point, it's Trump or nobody. But
Right.
we
I
can't
don't-
expect that Trump is going to come save us.
Yeah,
we have
for
to
sure, I agree.
understand that it's going to come from us and it's going to come from Americans. Number one, understanding history, understanding where this is going, and then doing something about it, because they can't control us if we don't allow them to.
You were talking earlier
Facts.
about Venezuela. Can you go ahead and relate some of the things that you were telling us about? Because this is important now, because this is something that it's possible that we're going to have to worry about. We have got there are people that and I really do want you to, but I want to say this first. People that deny that there is a problem on the left, they need to go to urban areas and talk to the political activists, the people that are on the ground working with the communities. Talk to them. You go to Brooklyn, there's DSA everywhere, which is the Democratic Socialists of America, full of commies, full of communists, and they're at the point where they'll tell you about it. So if you don't mind, go ahead and
and
relate
somehow
some of the
it's
things.
okay to be a communist in this country. Like, you would never call
Not
yourself.
according to me.
You know,
Well, let's start from the beginning. It wasn't that long ago. People don't realize this, that Venezuela was a wealthy capitalist nation.
absolutely. So I wasn't born in Venezuela because my mom
I think
hightailed it back to
I
the
think they're gonna get to this, but I haven't seen this clip yet. But yeah, like the oil, because in the 70s, it was super wealthy. And then socialism took over. Like, hey, we got enough money, as they do here. We got enough money now. We can, some politician comes in, we can go distribute it to everybody. And then they voted in, and now you see what happens.
U.S.
People start saying how bad it is, and they're not actually getting what they wanted. And then they try to get the politicians out of there and go back to where they were. And the politicians are like, no, we're staying here. You have to listen to us. We'll make it better. It'll just take a long time. And they're like, no, why isn't it getting better? It's just trust us. And if you don't, it doesn't matter, because we're staying in charge.
have me.
Scary.
But I was taken to Venezuela when I was 9 days old, and I lived there until back and forth between the U.S. until I was 15. So,
Wow.
however, like, my age old is how long this has been going on. Not even, much less. I watched communism, socialism enter into Venezuela. Venezuela was one of the most prosperous nations in Latin America. Before Venezuela, it was Cuba, which was, of course, destroyed by the same ideology. And there's no way to talk about Venezuela without talking about Cuba, because Fidel Castro, the dictator of Cuba, trained Hugo Chavez in Cuba on how to do this. I think people just assume that it's easy to come into power and take over. He did it in the very similar ways to Castro. So yeah, it starts very similarly, and it's this class warfare. It starts with well, you're poor because that guy over there has your money. That guy over there, it has your jobs and your opportunities, and you're poor because of them. So you see the class warfare, and that's really where it started dawning on me here in the U.S.
poor.
Like, oh wait, I've seen this before.
Yeah, and then people are poor, and obviously if they're poor, they probably are as intelligent as the other people, so they just go in and believe them. They're not like, oh no, I can just go build a business and gain wealth for for myself. They're like, no, that guy took my money. You're right, and then they just go along with it. It's just crazy human behavior.
It's that, and then authoritarianisms come in, and of course you can't. Your guns is the first thing they take. Unfortunately, here in the U.S., we have started to lose a little bit of our gun freedoms, and I understand that that's scary for some people. But
very slowly.
I disagree on that one. It's actually not true.
what?
Gun rights have expanded rapidly and exponentially over the past 2 decades in ways that this country it's been good. Right, so DC versus Heller, the right for individuals to keep and bear arms outside of their home was 2008. If you look at the issuance of gun permits, there was not a single state that would allow you to have a gun for the most part back in the 80s. It was actually difficult to have guns. Now, we did have a different culture where people had rifles and there was gun clubs in schools. But in the past 20 years, the expansion of individual liberties and gun rights has been exponential to the point where now I think half the country is constitutional carry, or I'm sorry, it's probably safer to say open carry in more than half the country, which did not exist 20, 30 years ago. Thanks for watching this clip
Very
from the
interesting.
Timcast.
Yeah, all this was interesting conversation. But yeah, we'll see where it goes with this journalist Owen Shroyer getting potential prison time. It's insane just for saying something by the Capitol. Homeless people scream stuff all the time. They don't get arrested for it, you know? But then this guy's, well, it was different because you incited and stuff. It's like, it's just a mess. They're just weaponizing the government as they have been. And sadly, I don't see it getting better before it gets worse, right? So we'll just see what happens. Especially we're still a whole year away from the election, so who knows what's gonna happen. Like Tim was just saying, he's talking about like even more people not even on the Capitol grounds him going after them, and I could definitely see that. Scary times. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe for daily news updates, smash that like button, share this video with your friends, and share your thoughts on the story in the comments below. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.